I'm going to go over the first few steps of our first Microsoft Publisher project and overall what the purpose of it is. So we are going to be recreating the flyer you see in front of you to the best of our ability. Now, that is going to include the shapes, the text, the size of the text, the colors, and basically every element of this. Now, it's not going to look 100% identical to the original. For example, this calendar is going to look a little bit different. In fact, this calendar doesn't make too much sense if you really look at the dates, but anyway, we are going to include all of that on here. And it's more of an exploratory exercise, meaning we are going to, in Publisher, go tab by tab and get a general sense of how this program is organized, how these options are organized. And the best way to do that is by tab. So the Home tab contains mainly options relating to text. Change the font, change the size, make it bold, do all that good stuff. The Insert tab involves placing objects onto your project. Objects such as shapes, tables, pictures. You can look up pictures online, borders, word art, which is fancy text, text everyone loves, and so on. The Page Design tab involves doing things that have an effect on the appearance of your entire page. Changing margins, changing the size of the page, adding in a background of some kind, and changing the color scheme, which, this isn't immediately obvious as to what it does, but it will be in a little while. And let's get started. So, I'm not going to do this entire thing, of course, because that would be, kind of spoiling the entire project, but let's just go over how to set up and organize these shapes right here and this border, and how to get it to be the colors we need it to be. Now, if you've used Publisher before, this will probably be very easy, but if you haven't, this is a good way to start off using this program. So for that star, well, it's not something I can just type in, so the Insert tab would be a good place to start looking. And let's look for a button that involves inserting shapes. And here it is, right here. I'm looking for a star, and these shapes are organized into different categories. So we can see at the bottom here, stars and banners. And I know that this is the star I want, mainly because I've done this before. And if you look closely, you can see these numbers at not at the beginning, but in the middle of each of these. Those numbers won't be there when you draw the star. That's just indicating how many points it has. So I want to choose the 16-point star. Click. Now I'm going to click and drag. And the star has been created. I know that the inside color, the fill, is white and the outline is black. So I just want to go up here and notice that a new tab has appeared called Drawing Tools Format. So a Format tab only appears when you have an object selected or clicked on. If I was to click outside of that star, the Format tab would disappear. Click back on it, and it's there. So, just ignore that. So now that I'm back on the Format tab, I know I want to change the fill of the shape to white. And I want to keep the outline color as it is, but if we look at the original, it's kind of skinny. So maybe I'll just click outline. And if I hover over weight, I can change the thickness of that outline. So I'll just click 1. There we go. Now it says Microsoft Publisher on the inside of this shape. So what we can do to add text to the inside of a shape, we can right-click it and click Add Text. Quite often, right-clicking something can point you in the right direction if you can't find it up here somewhere. Add Text, Microsoft Publisher, and I believe I spelled that correctly while barely even being able to see it. So that's always good. I need to increase the size of this text. Now I can do that in the Home tab, or you'll notice another Format tab appeared called Text Box Tools Format. So it's kind of weird how there are two Format tabs, but really one is Drawing Tools and one is Text Box Tools. The Drawing Tools Format tab has to do with the shape that I drew, while the text box tools format tab has to do with the, well, text or text box inside the shape. So anyway, I happen to know already that the font used in the original is Impact, so I can just type it in and press enter and it makes it that font. And maybe for size I'll make it 28. And I'm going to have to make the shape smaller, so that size is going to be good. And right here where we see a group of settings called alignment, I can click this button to align it to the center. And I'll go to text fill, and I want to make this purple. It does not have to be the exact shade of purple as in the original. As long as it's close, that's fine. I'll drag it by this corner point to make it smaller. Let's see how it compares. Oops. Okay, so that is pretty good. Oh. Okay, so if you have something like this, then that's just fine. Let's add that triangle that's behind it. Insert, shapes. Let's look for a triangle. Chances are I'll be able to find that under basic shapes. And here it is. It's the one called right triangle. Click and drag. And it's okay if you don't get it to be the same size to begin with. I know this triangle is black. Now I can rotate it by clicking and dragging this little thingy sticking out here. Or I can also go up here to the rotate button. Notice how I'm now under the Drawing Tools Format tab because I have this triangle selected. And just, yeah, select the one that works, and that's the one I want. However, there is a slight issue here, and that is that the triangle is in front of the star, which is not the case in the original flyer. So the thing you draw most recently is going to be on top, but you may not want the thing you draw most recently to be on top. Fortunately, there's a way we can fix that, and it's very, very simple. So first, select the shape you want to relocate, Drawing Tools Format tab, and there's a button somewhere on here that allows you to either bring a shape forward or send it backward. And in this case, we want to send this triangle backward. But I'm just going to click, so I click this button, and I'm going to click Send to Back. I could have clicked Send Backward, but sometimes you have to click it multiple times in order to get it behind everything. So just for good measure, and to save myself from extra mouse clicks, I just click Send to Back. All right, and now it's behind. And that looks pretty good. Now, the sizes of each thing, might be different than the original, and that's fine. We're going for, what we're going for is to include each element, text, shape, border, and everything else that's in the original. And it's supposed to resemble it, but not 100%. Hopefully that makes sense. We're using the same shapes, colors, and text, but the sizes and colors might vary a little bit. As long as we get the same overall look and feel, then that's fine. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to do for this little intro is to insert a border. Okay, so even if you've never done it before, if I just say Insert Border, a good place to go to would be the Insert tab, and chances are we're going to find a button that says something about borders here, and we did. Borders and accents. Now the one I want just happens to be up here because I used it before, but it probably won't be here for you. So just scroll down a little bit until we find it under one of these categories. It's under Emphasis. So just click that. That's the border we want. And I'm going to resize it like I would a picture. There we go. It's not the same colors though, and this is where the concept of color schemes comes in. So I'm going to go to the Page Design tab, and I'm going to choose one of these color schemes. And notice how when I hover over a scheme, it changes the color of the border, or the colors of the border, to match that scheme. Sometimes a color scheme will change other objects on your page too. So that's something you should be aware of. But if you accidentally change the color of something, you can just go and change it back individually. If I click this More button, I can reveal more color schemes. So, which one do I want? Well, I happen to know that the correct one for this project is called Bluebird. So I'm going to click that, and that gets the colors to match up. And now I can kind of relocate this triangle and this star. If we want to get rid of these margins, if we want to eliminate the margins from the page, we can click the Margins button, which again is under the Page Design tab, and click None. So if you think about it, it wouldn't really make sense for the Margins button or for the Color Schemes button to be under these two tabs, Home or Insert, because the color scheme affects the entire page, and that's really not what these two tabs involve doing. So you just think of it that way. So that's really the purpose of this exercise, is to get you to think about what kinds of options are in these different tabs, and explore them and insert these other things. So I'm going to go over these other elements of this project later. We don't want this video to be too long now, do we? The purpose of this video is just to get you started. And hopefully this served as a good intro for those who haven't used Publisher before. One last thing, you'll notice that I didn't talk about mailings or the Mailings and Review tab, and I don't know if or when I ever will, because they're really not important for what we're doing. The View tab just allows you to do things like zoom in or out, or view two pages at once. I don't know how often we'll use that either. I just focused on the more important tabs. If you need to zoom in and out, though, at any time, you can hold Control and scroll down or up, and then use the bar up here to move up and down. But that's it. Thank you for watching, and if this is on YouTube, this is where I tell you to like and subscribe, but it's not, so I'm just going to say I'll see you in class. Take it easy.